Well, thank you so much for doing this. I have been dying to just have you on the podcast and interview you and talk all about the fashion show stuff. So, what makes it unique? What makes it different? I have the chills because it's so exciting to me, specifically because of the spot I'm in with competing, not competing anymore and really feeling like lost. Like, what do
Hmm.
I do with my hands? I'm not a competitor anymore. And it's really bizarre to not have a goal, which I know like life should be like, oh, you just want to be fit for life. But the fashion show was like exactly what I needed to be like, I have a destination, right? For a goal. So, anyhow, welcome to the show. I would love to get a little bit of background from you as to where the backstory began, right? Where the journey began and what inspired you to create Angel Competition Bikinis.
Yeah, well, first off, I am very honored to be here on your podcast. I love what you preach and everything with your education, and I'm just honored to be on the podcast. So thank you so much for asking me on as a guest. Okay, so the story starts in 2013. I had just graduated college and had a job that I liked, and kind of what you were just saying, I wanted a goal in life. Living life wasn't enough, I guess. I
Mhm.
graduated college. I was like, what's next? So, in between when I was in limbo of getting ready to apply for master's program, I decided, let's do a competition. This sounds fun. So I started training, did all the things. I fell in love with it, got on stage. I placed on my first show, everything except my suit. I was not confident in my suit. I remember when I got my suit in the mail, my first thought was, oh my gosh, my mom is going to see me in this. And it wasn't custom fit to me. I'm a tall athlete and it was way, way, way too low in the crotch. And it did not feel, it broke in my hands. Like the connectors were garbage. It did not make me feel confident.
Mhm.
And so I remember very distinctly at my competition, after we were celebrating with a little cake, I was holding my suit and my mom said, "Oh, I could make this better." And I said, "What?" And she was like, "Yeah, I could totally make this." Because growing up, she made all of our clothes. And so
Oh,
she put that seed in mine and my twin sister's ear. And we were like, well, we're gonna try. And we tried it. And one thing led to another. We started selling on eBay, then we moved to Etsy, and then within 6 months of the idea, we had launched our online store. And then 7 months later, I quit my full-time job and went all out, stopped preparing to apply for a master's program, and just was like, well, I'm going to go this route as long as I can and put my heart and soul and all of my energy into it. And here we are almost 11 years later, and we are the biggest competition suit supplier in the world. And our fashion show has traveled all over the country. And in 2025, we are planning to expand internationally with the fashion show. So lots of exciting things happening.
amazing. Amazing. That is incredible. I mean, that is such a tremendous story, right? Like, I mean, aside from the competition talk, I am a business owner and an entrepreneur at heart. So when I hear stories like this, it's like you had to overcome so much, probably internal resistance, like, oh, should I do this thing? Should I not do this thing? And then you sold your first bikini, right? And
Mhm.
usually that's the first taste, at least for me, anytime I like create a product or I do a thing, any kind of course, the podcast, right? Where I'm like, oh, I'm just going to try this and let's see. I can always just not do it. But what was it like when you sold that first bikini? Because that to me is like, you're onto something. Like somebody exchanged money for your idea or your product. And it's incredibly scary, but also like, let's go.
Yeah, I think I probably cried happy tears when the first one actually sold. And then when she got it, and um, it was a lot of learning opportunities from the get-go. So in the first 6 months before we like even had a name for our brand, we were just selling on eBay. And I tell you what, probably 50% of the suits we sold, we got bad reviews of them.
Oh,
And that was, so it's a lot of happy tears, sad tears, just a lot of emotions because I was like, what are we doing wrong? Like this, we kind of really learned the market and a lot of learning opportunity. So now, fast forward to today, our return rate is only 1%. So we've gone from 50%. We have a lot of room for improvement. And just slowly throughout the years, we've gotten that down and down and down. And since 20 2018 was when the first year we hit 1% return rate. So I was really excited about that. And it was a lot of emotions. I didn't know the emotional roller coaster that starting a business would be. And I didn't know anything. It's almost embarrassing what I didn't know. I remember Googling what is an LLC because my dad told me, he's like, you need to start an LLC. So if someone sues you, I was like, wait, people are going to sue me. I was so ignorant and naive to the world of business
Right.
because here I am. I'm a new grad. I had a major in science and a minor in music. So I didn't know anything. I'd never taken an accounting course. So luckily, my passion in life is learning. So that really helped me.
That's too funny. I can relate to that as well. When we started our business, I was like, business license, an S corp, taxes, what?
Mhm.
It's something that I think I mean, I consider myself more of like a creative where I have the ideas, the imagination for things, and I can kind of see it. And then I need the people to help me execute. But then we also have to think about the black and white like business side of things. And that always is like the not so fun part, but it is the reality. And that can kick a lot of people off course. And also too, I commend you guys for getting reviews back that weren't pleasant. And rather than giving up, you're like, we fix it and course correct, because a lot of people stop right there, throw in the towel and like, nah, this is just not working out. Right. So that's amazing. And I'm
Yeah,
sure
there
there
were
were
lots
plenty
of
of times where
times
you
I
thought about
wanted to
it.
quit.
Yeah, exactly. Jinx. Yeah. Now, do you guys know how many suits you've sold to date? Like, do you keep, I'm sure somebody else has asked you.
Yeah, it's over 30,000. Like it's a lot of
Wow,
suits. And
amazing.
we never stop improving. Like I know that our suits are amazing. They're the best on the market.
Mhm.
Everything about them is the highest quality you can get. But I know there's still room for improvement. And that's the bodybuilder mentality. We are never satisfied with our end product. And I say that with everything we do. Every single fashion show we do, we get surveys back and we think, okay, what can we improve in this area? How can we improve in this area? So we foster that mission of always learning and always knowing we can be better. Even if we are the best, there's still better than that. So we're just always looking for room for improvement and ways to learn and be better.
Exactly. I mean, the motto that my business coaches have is 1% better, and I just have adapted
Mhm.
that. It's like, where can I make this 1% better? And it's the same thing for us. We run new programs, or even in a girl in a prep, right? Or anytime you go into a prep, you're just always thinking like, how can I make it better than the last prep? So I think that's just the nature of go-getters, honestly, is improvement, self-improvement, and clearly what you're doing is working. So that's amazing. Now, my next question is, when did the fashion show piece of this enter the chat?
That's a good way to ask it. So the fashion show started in 2018 and I had, went through the whole competition season and went through all the emotions that competitors feel as a first-time competitor. And so I had struggled with the body dysmorphia when you're, 2 months after your show and you look phenomenal still. Everyone is like, you look truly, I still looked amazing. But inside, I was like, I feel fat. I feel, like I've let myself go. And I just wasn't confident in my off-season body at all. And so the fashion show started as a way to get on stage in your off-season and still feel confident. Because if you can't feel confident in your poses, in your body, walking in your off-season, then when you're on stage feeling confident, it doesn't express to the crowd the same way. Knowing that you can feel confident in any body is kind of how the vision of the fashion show when we started off. But since then, since 2018, it's grown into something much more. And it's a community of, a sisterhood of athletes. We can relate on a different level than the normal person because we aren't normal. Bodybuilders are not normal. And
Not
it's
at all.
hard to find people like us. So my favorite part and what the Angel Fashion Show has morphed into is just an amazing community of women, empowering and just talking each other up, So it's gone through a lot of evolutions from the first show in 2018. We were like, let's just get on stage and walk in our suits. And there's about 30 of us that did that. And since then it's so much more. It's been really fun to watch it evolve and just keep making it better.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely appealed to me from that exact perspective, if I'm being honest. It was something that felt much more in line with where I'm at mentally, you know, my mindset, essentially what I preach to my clients who don't want to ever compete, right? It's like doing something that isn't as extreme as bodybuilding, unless, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, unless that's something you think you want to do as like you're trying to achieve maybe like IFBB pro status, or you really want to dive into the competition world and be competitive. It's almost like the fashion show is a great way for you to dip your toes in first and see if you like this whole thing. Do you like putting on the glitz and the glam and walking out in front of a bunch of strangers, right? And not even having your body judged, just for funsies, right? And if you can handle that and that's invigorating to you and you want more and you want the competitive side of it, then I feel like the competition makes sense for somebody that maybe has that exposure. I think that the fashion show, if I'm just going to put it out there, I would say that if you are ever considering competing or you want to compete, that you do a fashion show first.
I mean, I love hearing that.
Yeah, you really need to understand what the process sort of looks like. Right? And I know that I'm sure, like, I wanted to have you kind of walk us through it a little bit, but I'm sure there are some stark differences, but the concept is very similar in terms of like what you're doing and, you know, the whole bodybuilding community, right? So I'd love to know like how that runs through for you guys with the fashion show.
Yeah, so from the model's perspective, they'll go online and apply for a show. And then if they are accepted, then they'll have a consult over the phone where we can answer any questions they have about how the show is ran, what they need, you know, anything they need to know for the show. And they get their suit ordered, which is super fun. Every fashion show model, part of their package comes with the top of, they can choose any suit they want with all the embellishments, you know, completely customized to them. And so then once they get their suit and they're around, I would say about 60 days out from the show, we'll assign them into squads and captains. And this is super exciting because the captains are fashion show alumni who lead a group of 5 to 10 other models. And it's a way to further connect. So you're talking with your captain, you're learning the squad members, and it's just a way to make sure that the models feel that connection before we get to the opening ceremony, because it can be a lot if you're walking into a room and you don't know anyone. So you are introduced to your squad members and your captain. And then the day before the show, we have our opening ceremony, which is so exciting because we all get in a room together and the energy there, it's unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I have chills just talking about it.
I'm excited.
And it's just this great environment of empowerment and women just standing up for each other and, you know, self-growth. You know, we're all growth-minded individuals. And so it's really relatable. And I have met all of my best friends through the fashion show. But anyways, so the opening ceremony, we'll go through posing. We'll have some of the captains talk about past shows. Sometimes there's a little bit of an education aspect to it. And then after the opening ceremony, we'll do a stage rehearsal where we get to walk out, practice our poses, and then we can like cheer each other on. And so then the next day will be show day. So the show is, let's take the Olympia, for example. So the Olympia will be held at the Expo Center for the Olympia. So we'll all meet in our dedicated conference room and get ready together. And then about 30 minutes before the show, we will meet backstage and we'll do an energy drink toast, which is always super fun. And then usually we announce one of our new sponsored athletes, and then some other fun things that we do prior to the show, just to get everyone pumped up and have that fun environment, get everyone loose. And then it's time to take the stage. So one thing that I love about the fashion show stage is that it gives you the opportunity to really embrace your authentic personality, because on the competition stage, the poses are very, very strict. You have to do twerk your body exactly how the judges want you to twerk it. You have to conform to what the judges want. on this stage, you can wear whatever suit color you want. You can pose how you think looks best and what makes you feel the most confident. Some girls do their NPC poses. Some girls do something super glamorous. Some girls really embody the theme that they have with their props and do a really unique posing routine. So it's all about you and showcasing yourself and just being confident in your own skin. You know, I like to tell girls, you are never judged on anything. You're not judged on your appearance. You're not judged on what you say. This is a very safe space to be who you are deep to your core. Because in the world of bodybuilding and social media, there's a lot of judgment that can happen. And there's always that fear that you're being judged. You know, if you're at a competition, you know, if the judge sees you, things like that. So this is just a very safe space for your authentic, beautiful self.
That sounds like so much fun. I cannot wait.
It
Now,
is so fun.
yeah. Now, when it comes to the routines, because I know that this is something that I was curious about too, is that how is that structured? Is it how different is that from like a bodybuilding show? Are the girls grouped accordingly, or is it just kind of like line up? How does that usually work with that piece of it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We go by squads and every model gets their own time and their own walk. So we'll have like squad one will go first and then the models 1 through 10. And so I actually, my role in the fashion show day is the most fun role. I am the one that right before the girls walk out on stage, I just kind of remind them, you know, what their mission is, why they're here to, you know, be present. And then you take the stage and your poses can be anything. And we've actually partnered with the posing school based out of Australia. They have a great, the best online platform, and every model gets free access to the Angel Fashion Show model course. So we have a course. And when I say course, it sounds a little intimidating, but it's very easy to work through. And it teaches you your expressions, your model walk, your pivots, and some basic poses. And then it gives you everything you need to know to take that and add your own little personality to it.
Okay, so for the average gal that's listening, do you feel like they would need to do something like get a posing coach or do some posing lessons? Or do you feel like have fun with it, use the portal and just, you know, let it all hang out?
You don't need to hire a posing coach at
Okay.
all. This
Yeah.
is the stage where anything goes and you are given all the tools from the course and then as well as with your squads and captains and the day before we practice. So I don't want anyone to think, oh, I'm gonna have to hire a posing coach. I'm gonna have to hire a prep coach. That's not what you need for the fashion show.
Okay, great. Now that's very comforting because I know that's going to probably be top of mind for some girls, especially those that have competed before. And they're like, oh, you know, the posing piece of it was always very nerve wracking. And I know myself being a posing coach and a coach and doing all the things with my athletes, that is the hardest thing. And it frustrates them. And a lot of times they want to quit because of the mandatory poses you have to tweak your
Mhm.
body into, right? So this is super fun, super refreshing. What is the craziest, most elaborate thing that you have seen thus far in terms of your fashion show girls? Like, is there anything that comes to mind?
That's a really great question. So we've had Ashley Kaltwasser on the stage do the worm, and I did not know she was going to do that. And
Yes,
she was wearing a Wonder Woman outfit. And I said, you know, Ashley, that would be cool if you did some tumble tricks. And so she gets out there and she does the worm, and the crowd went crazy.
that's so
And
funny.
then we've also had, oh, we had Brooke Walker on stage. She is an Olympian women's physique and she hit her back pose and the crowd, it was a Kansas City show and the crowd just went crazy because in Kansas City bodybuilding isn't as big as it is on the coast. So it was really exciting for us to kind of show that to the Kansas City community. And Brooke up there, she's just, you know, she's definitely like she's one of the top women's physique. I so inspired by her and she had her back pose. The crowd went wild. And there's been some great walks that I've seen. It's really fun to see what the girls come with their themes because we say, you know, you do not have to have a theme. You can just walk out there and be, you know, a Victoria's Secret model, buff model type theme. That is
Mhm.
enough. You do not need any props. Whereas we have some models, especially alumni, who really take the theme to the next level. So Jen Miza is a good example. She has done so many themes. One year she did Ninja Turtles, and her posing was a little like Ninja Turtle-esque pose. It was so cool.
That's so
I can't
funny. I
even
love it.
explain it. But yeah, it's just a great, I love seeing the girls like authentic personalities shine, because that's something that you don't get to see on the competition stage.
Exactly. And that's what's so fun, exactly where my head is. It's like, this is cool. It's different. It doesn't have to be so rigid. You can kind of be a little flirty and do your thing and, add some prop elements to it. So that's very, very fun and exciting. Um, is there another component to the fashion show besides the competition bikinis? So I thought I saw somewhere where there was maybe like a different costume option or evening wear. Did I read that right?
Yeah, you have the
Okay.
option if you want to do multiple walks to
Mm.
walk in one of our gowns. We have couture gowns, and we also have couture suits, which means they are suits that have a lot more personality to them. So they're a lot more intricate, a lot more labor intensive, and they're very meticulously detailed. And so you do have the option to upgrade if you want to add an evening gown or a couture suit or anything like that.
Okay, fun. So this feels very similar to, I'm sure you've heard the WBFF, like
Mhm.
something more like along those lines without the competition side of things. So you get that glam feel. It's not as probably big of an investment because I know that those shows are astronomical. At least from what I hear, some of these gowns are like, $10,000 or something crazy. And this is more of an affordable way to have that same feel and not have the pressure of competition.
Yeah, it's actually the couture suits are similar to what they were in the WBFF, but that is where the similarities stop. So one thing that really differentiates us from the WBFF is you are never judged. And I know with the WBFF, the second you walk into that host hotel, you're being judged. You have to put on your act.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's very different from the Angel Fashion Show, because
Right.
we do not want you to do that. We do not want to see you with your act. We want to see your
Yeah.
authentic self. And there's absolutely no judging. And then another strong differentiator is that there is no there's no competition, which means that it fosters the connection with the other models to a whole other level. Once you leave the show, you all of a sudden have like a lot more best friends. And as cheesy as that sounds, it can be very, very hard for adults to make friends, and
Mhm.
two, for adult bodybuilders to make friends. And
Yes.
female friends are always hard to find. So it's it's a great just I just love everything about the fashion show, and it's turned into like my passion project with the business. I still love like making the suits for competitions, and I still compete myself. But I will say that when we started the fashion show in 2018, I was getting ready to go into prep for a June show. It was in March. And the second I walked off the stage, I told Lauren, who's my twin sister and business partner, I said, I'm not competing. This did it for me. I'm not competing anymore. I'm never competing again. I did say I was never competing again, but in 2022, I was like, you know what? It's time for me. It's time for me to get back on the stage. And I had a good season, and I'm really glad I did get back on the stage. But I'm going to stick with the fashion shows for a while, just so I can, I like the health aspect of it. I can show up in a healthy body fat level, and I don't have to do any crazy sacrifices with my energy, because my energy, I guard it like it's just my energy is
Girl.
so important to me. And
Yep.
during prep, when you're on low calories, the energy drain is, I mean, it takes a toll. And that's something that it's not really talked about a lot, is how much energy of like mental energy, physical energy, it drains you because your body has no calories for it. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't even remember the question, so I'm going to let you go.
No, no, this is great because this is the next kind of layer I wanted to bring into the conversation, which is another reason I'm really passionate about just sharing this experience. I'm doing a weekly series on my YouTube channel and the podcast to just say like, hey, I'm doing the not the competition. I'm doing the fashion show with Angel Competition Bikinis. And I really want to show, everybody the process over the next 19 weeks, because we're 19 weeks out, Karah.
Yes.
Over the next 19 weeks, and doing it in a sustainable way that is going to push me outside of my comfort zone for sure, because I need to drop, that last 10 pounds for me to feel I could go like this and be fine, right? I know that that's your MO, but I want to give myself that goal without thinking I need to lose 25 pounds for a competition, right?
Mhm.
10 versus 25 is a whole lot different. You know that, being a
Yeah.
competitor, right?
Yes.
And to your point, the energy drain is something that you're not prepared for. And it kind of hits you. Like, I feel like one day it hits you at like 8 weeks out, I feel like, and you're just like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. And it's all of the mental labor along with the physical labor that goes into being a competitor. Like you said, all of the stuff that you have to think about, and you become like a newborn baby, right? You have to think you are the center of the universe for everything that exists all of those weeks up until your show. When are you eating? When are you sleeping? When's your water? When's your supplements, right? It's a well-oiled machine, and it leaves not a lot for anything else, which is hard
And
when you run a business.
Yeah, that's something that I wish people would talk about more, because for me, I would never compete like year over year over year, like in a row. I always want to take some time off. And it's I wish that people were more transparent about how much energy drain it actually is on you, on your relationships, because you do have to be the center of attention. You do have to sacrifice, and people will tell you that you don't, but if you want to have a competitive physique and get down to, 15-12% body fat for a female, you're going to be feeling some side effects. Like you can't pretend like you can be on a competition stage and do well and not have any negative side effects. Nothing drastic, but you're gonna feel a little off.
For sure, for sure. And it's really refreshing to see sort of the difference between the two in terms of the process and how much mental labor it takes, like knowing that I have this thing going. But to your point, the fashion show being more of like a community, and there's a camaraderie, and you're backstage and you're not like looking at the girls like, oh my gosh, is she in my class? Am I going to be up against her? OMG, I'm going to lose. Like all of the mental gymnastics that comes with competing, which serves its purpose, but you don't have that in this experience, which alleviates so much stress for somebody who's been there, right? It's just so less stressful. It just seems like it's going to be a fun thing. I'm excited about it. It's, it's going to challenge me, but it's not going to like lay me out in every other area of my life, which I feel like if you're trying to be a top competitor, you really have to do all the things that top competitors do. And that sometimes makes you a shut-in. You don't really have a whole lot of life. So this is super, super exciting. I'm thrilled for it. Last question that I have, at least on my little list, I didn't want to forget. What age ranges, shapes, sizes do you typically see at a fashion show? Because I know that is probably something that the listeners are curious about.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked this. So the majority of fashion show models are 35 and up. And that was something that I never knew until we actually looked at the data, and it blew my mind. And in the women's seminar this year, Sandy actually said that there were more masters competitors than non-masters. So it's for all ages. And we've actually had a 4-year-old not wearing a suit, wearing a very toddler appropriate outfit, 4-year-old all the way up to 72. And
Renee.
Yes, Renee.
I love
Renee. Everyone knows Renee. We love Renee.
She's been on my podcast. She's amazing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we've had the 4-year-old, we've had a couple moms get on stage with their daughter, and it's very empowering for the crowd to see. And then we've also had some pregnant women walk, and we just actually did a show in Baltimore And we had three moms there with their daughters. And so I was talking with them after. I said, this is on Mother's Day weekend next year. What if we did this as a mom's fashion show? You wouldn't necessarily have to bring your kid. It could just be the MC at the show will announce, talk about your kids, talk about how you are as a mom, and just be a fashion show to celebrate the moms out there. So, just stay tuned with us because I think that's going to be on the schedule for next year is a mom's fashion show on Mother's Day weekend.
How fun. That would be so fantastic. My daughter's a competitor, so I would try to drag her along. I would be like,
You
let's
have
do this
to.
thing together. She would totally be down if she wasn't competing. I know she would.
I already told
She's
my
all
mom
about
she
it.
has to do it with me.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Does your sister compete as well?
So she has competed
Okay.
and she is doing the fashion show, but she hasn't competed since 2015. So
Okay.
I'm keep encouraging her because I never thought I would compete again, but I learned so much about myself and just about life through my last prep. I feel like you really uncover some things you're trying to hide away. So it's a really good like
Yeah,
self-growth thing to compete.
I agree.
But anyways, yeah, she has competed before.
Okay. Are you guys both doing the fashion shows this year?
Yes, we are.
Now, do you do all of them?
I have done most of them. There
Okay.
were a couple last year that I said, okay, I'm just going to help. I just want to be like on the outside, working on the process.
Mhm.
But then this year I kind of decided, well, it doesn't take much more energy for me to walk. I can still like do both parts. So
Mhm.
I kind of decided that I'm going to walk in them. And yeah, I love it. And I learn something every time I do it. So yeah.
I'm sure that's great for like just on a business owner's perspective of just being an actual participant on the backside gives you like a front row seat as how the process is running. And you're probably thinking of things on like how to improve certain things. I mean, that's probably what I would be doing if was partaking like, oh, I don't like this about this or whatever. So it's probably really great that you're right in the trenches with them and experiencing it as a client, as a, as
Yeah.
a, a model. So that's
Some business
wonderful.
advice that you never hear, but is so important is when you're deciding to start a business, if you are currently like the market customer, that puts you in a phenomenal place to start
Mhm.
that business because you don't have to spend any money on marketing because you
Yeah.
already know how you want to be marketed to.
Right.
So I love being a customer of the business as well as leading the business because it sets up, a win-win organization for the customers and the business, So I think that's a piece of business advice that you don't hear that too often, but it can really save you a lot of money if you have the opportunity to get into a business that you're already a customer of.
I agree. It's the best form of market research,
Hmm.
and it just helps you develop a better product, right? It just
Yeah.
overall it makes more sense. I know that I said that was the last question, but just some follow-up things that are coming up. Can you list off exactly what shows you have, like where they're taking place? So we
Yeah.
can let the listeners know, like if there's one in their area, and we'll obviously plug all of your social medias as well.
Yeah, so we have our Tampa fashion show the first weekend in August. It's going to be at the same location as the Tampa Pro, and we have Julia Renee who is headlining that. And then we have
How
our
fun.
Masters fashion show in Nashville at the Nashville Fit Show, and Renee Landers is
Mhm.
headlining
I
that
saw
one.
that.
And then we have a show in Atlanta in September at the Georgia Fit Expo. And then we have a lot of shows left this year. We did
Yes,
eight
this is
this year,
great.
which is the most we've ever done. And then we have, well, about the Olympia, which will be our biggest show to date. It's the 60th anniversary of the Olympia. So we're pulling out everything
Oh my
to
goodness.
just make this show the best show ever. And then we are ending the year in November, the weekend before Thanksgiving. Actually, I think it's 2 weekends before Thanksgiving in Fort Lauderdale.
Amazing. So plenty of opportunities from now until the end of the year to jump on board, and you're spread out everywhere. That's exciting. That's so
Yes. Yeah, we
exciting.
try to hit all the major cities. So
Mhm.
I next year we will definitely have a show in Texas and California because I did
Mhm.
not mention those for this year and our customers are begging and pleading us to come to California, come to Texas. So next year, 2025, we will do whatever we can to
I
make
love
that
that.
happen.
That's amazing. Now, when it comes to your international market, do you know where you're going to start or you're thinking to start with that first? Because I have a lot of international listeners as well.
Okay, well, I am really hoping that we do the Arnold UK because I love the Arnold Fit Expo. It's so
Mm.
well ran. It's just the models have a great experience. They take care of you. And so I am just dying to do the Arnold UK. So if anyone listening knows anyone involved in the Arnold UK, just put a good word in for us because it would make all of my dreams come true. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll start in the UK.
I mean, I imagine that you have so much street cred for doing this for so long that you just need to be connected with the right person
Hmm.
there, and it would be a no-brainer. You know,
Yeah, I'm hoping.
it's just going to bring more people overall to the expo, and have one more event that people can enjoy. And it's great. It would be great exposure for you guys as well, too.
Yeah. And I know a lot of our US customers would want to go over there and do the UK fashion show. So it would bring people from the States over to the UK, which I know would be good for them. So it is a win-win. I just need to keep talking to the right people.
Most definitely. I agree. Well, I know that I am beyond thrilled to participate in the Vegas fashion show
Yes.
at the Olympia. I'm moving to Vegas in 3 weeks, which is nuts. And I can't even believe that's happening. But I figured, what better way to just sort of plant my roots in
Yeah.
Vegas than to do the fashion show, at the Olympia? Because I know the Olympia is every other year in Vegas, correct? It's like Florida, Vegas.
So that's been the theme the last 4 years,
Because of
but
COVID, I think.
before 2020, it was always in Vegas. So
Mm.
I don't know what the future holds. I mean, I love Vegas, but I also loved last year in Orlando. So, living in Kansas City has its perks because we can basically get anywhere the same distance.
Exactly, exactly. Well, anything else that maybe I left out that you wanted to share about either the competition side of things or the fashion show?
Do you have any ideas on what your suit is going to be for the
Ah,
fashion show?
no, I don't. I don't. My best friend's doing it too.
Okay.
And she's like the theme girl, right? Coach Glitter. She's the theme girl. She's going to be sparkly and shiny and probably have like a
Oh,
parade of
Coach Glitter.
unicorns.
She's done a
Yes.
show before.
Yeah, she hasn't done a fashion show, but she's
Okay.
done competitions. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've
Mhm.
I've talked to her on Instagram. I was like, I love Coach Glitter. That's like the best coach name.
Yeah, so she will be very glittery in some way, shape, or form, but I don't know. I don't
And
know
you
yet.
don't have to do a theme. You could just
Mhm.
walk in a suit and just show off your confidence. But you have the option if you wanted to go crazy and do a theme. We've seen mermaids, peacocks, Disney princess, anything you
Wow.
can think of, people have done.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to pull my resources and get some suggestions from my friends and see what we can come up with. But I'm excited for that piece. It's different for me, clearly wearing just a bikini to like now having some kind of theatrical component a little bit that can be more
Mhm.
fun. So I'm excited to piece that together for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited for you to experience it. And I really look forward to listening to the podcast to hear how you're prepping for it. And,
Yeah.
I will touch on what you said earlier, how you said, I could walk how I'm now, but I will feel more confident if I do like a mini cut, which I hear that a lot. And that is completely okay if you want to do a small cut for the fashion show to feel more confident. But just know you don't have to. You can go in your 100% off-season body. And one thing I do try to remind the women who do this is if you are up on stage and you are feeling self-conscious about maybe it's your stomach or your legs, just wherever your body part you're feeling self-conscious is, there is someone out there in the audience that sees you and is self-conscious about that too. And that will inspire them to get over that. So it's almost more inspiring for the crowd if you show up more in your off season and you embrace your flaws than if you do a cut and you really worry about, okay, I need to be perfect. Perfect is not inspiring because it seems unattainable. So
Mhm.
embracing your flaws and looking at them as unique parts of who you are and what makes you beautiful, as cheesy as that sounds, is what inspires the world and what we need more of. We need more authenticity. We need more, realness as, so just remember that you do not need to cut for this, but if that makes you feel more confident, you are more than welcome to do so.
Well, you guys, Karah just dropped the mic. Mic drop. She just told me how it is. And I love that. It's something that I need to remind myself through this process. And one thing I will admit, it's very hard, and I'm sure you understand too, having come from this background, is breaking that mindset of being all in. Because for myself personally, anytime I go into a competition, it's like a light switch, right? I can be doing whatever, kind of having fun on the weekends and doing all the things like normies. We call them normies on the podcast, normal people do. But as soon as I'm like, prep is on, it's like light switch. And then all of a sudden robot mode ensues, right? And it's just predictable every single day, Groundhog's Day, which there is a piece of that is comforting because it's predictable and you're going to feel good and all those things, but it's really tough. And especially when you've been doing it for 14 years.
This is going to be really good for you because you're going to have to force yourself to find some sort of balance. It's going to put you outside your comfort zone in a way that you never have been. So I'm really excited to see how this works because, having that light switch on and off, that's great for a competitor, but learning how to have a balanced lifestyle and getting to your ideal, like confident weight in a balanced way, it can be life-changing. So I'm really excited for you.
I'm excited, but you are correct. It is challenging in a different way. I feel like it's almost harder, if I'm being honest. Not in the sense of like, oh, the hunger is killing me and I'm so hungry. It's a different kind of hard. We don't need to be so pedal to the metal, right? We can just be like, we can ease up and just gracefully go into this experience and enjoy it versus in prep where it's really hard to find those enjoyable moments when it feels like everything is just really tough, right?
Yeah.
Just all of the components with that. So that is the breath of fresh air that I feel that this experience is going to give me, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to share on the podcast and YouTube so everybody can, kind of see the process as well. And I'm showing up whether I am lean or, not lean, or the cut went off well or it didn't. So that's just the way it's going to happen. That's the way the crumble cookie crumbles.
I love that.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time today. This is so exciting. Like I said, I'm stoked for Vegas. If you guys need any help with that, volunteer anything, I know I've got friends that are coming out and things of that nature. We would love to help because I really think what you guys stand for is right in line with where my brand and my mission is and where it's headed. Please feel free to reach out, but let us know where we can find you guys on the socials, the webs, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So the best place is probably Instagram, and our Instagram is at Angel Competition Bikinis, and then our website, acbikinis.com. And then once you're there, you can go to our YouTube. And I do encourage you, if you have never ordered free samples from us, or even if you have and you want some new ones, we just got new velvet prints in, order free samples. We don't even ask for your credit card. So it's a great way to get some little bit of excitement for your suit. And so Instagram is probably the best way to follow us.
Okay, great. And then we'll just post all of your links in the show notes and on YouTube so they can come and find you. And this is going to be great. I can't wait. I'm stoked. And I hope more people turn towards the fashion shows, get a taste for it before they compete. And they might actually fall in love with it and decide, I don't really need to compete. That's not something I'm going to pursue long-term. So I'm cool doing this. It's a fun little thing to do, especially as we get older. There isn't anything fun to do like this where you can, just kind of parade around and without, having to be in a competition or like be some kind of top model. This is like a nice in between, I feel like. So
yeah. And it also does the reverse of that is it'll take someone who thinks, oh, I'm just going to do the fashion show and that's it. And then they do the fashion show and they're like, oh, now I want to compete. So it goes both ways.
Right. And I think it's a great space if you've never competed to just try it and decide you love this camaraderie, the community, that piece of it, or you're like, I'm really competitive at heart and I want to try this. That's why I say I think it's just a great first step for people who are really curious about this whole world, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you in Vegas. And yeah, this was great. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for letting me come on here. I love chatting with you, and
Yeah, this
yeah,
is fun.
thank you so much.